Prosecutors in Long Island have announced an indictment against 31 accused gang members who they say are responsible for 18 different shootings.
We have this leader in California working through proxies to tell young men in Nassau and Suffolk County to commit shootings and other acts of violence on behalf of the gang.
The leader, Latique Johnson, who went by the Pilot, was allegedly calling shots from his jail cell in California. Omar Barry and Josiah Herbert were at the top of the gang's hierarchy on Long Island.
Prosecutors say over a dozen gang members are off the streets this afternoon after a long investigation into a high-tech vehicle theft and credit card fraud operation.
Part of the CC Boys, which is a branch of the Bloods gang. Areas like Northport, Lindenhurst, and Oakdale. Investigators say 8 people alone were arrested yesterday, but a total of 13 alleged gang members were indicted.
Well, a group of gang members who authorities say terrorized Nassau County on Long Island for several years is now in police custody. The group is linked to more than a dozen shootings and 3 between 2016 and 2021. They're also linked to several robberies and kidnappings over that span.
18 alleged gang members are behind bars.
One of their crimes made headlines in October, the shooting outside Congressman Lee Zeldin's house in Shirley.
In addition to the murder and the 6 shootings, we have 5 carjackings, 1 armed robbery, 15 separate stolen vehicles. We also have a home burglary where 6 French bulldog puppies and their mothers were stolen.
Gang members now under arrest. Detectives charged the trio fired the weapon near a 19-year-old man standing in front of his home after first slashing him in the stomach with a machete. Police say the attack began after one gang member asked, "Why are you laughing?" And the victim responded, "I can laugh at anything I want."
Long Island, often viewed as a suburban counterpoint to the dense urban landscape of New York City, is known for its beaches, family communities, and affluence in places like Nassau's Gold Coast or the Hamptons. Yet just beneath the surface, a wave of gang activity has increasingly disrupted this perception, revealing a complex web of organized crime that mirrors, and sometimes rivals, the gang violence seen in the city's boroughs. Unlike the 5 boroughs of New York City, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, Long Island is composed of 2 suburban counties, Nassau and Suffolk, with their own law enforcement agencies, distinct cultures, and historically lower crime rates. But in recent years, that has changed. Gangs like the Bloods, Crips, CC Boys, and NFL No Fake Love have expanded their reach into these communities, capitalizing on suburban vulnerabilities and using Long Island as both a recruitment ground and battleground. The following report highlights a series of major gang indictments across Long Island, from violent shootings to fraud schemes and human trafficking. These coordinated takedowns by local and federal authorities shed light on how deep gang networks have embedded themselves in suburban New York, and how aggressively the justice system is now responding.
Down of a large car theft ring today on Long Island, leading to 13 people being charged in more than 50 high-end car break-ins.
The break-ins happened across Suffolk County over the past 2 years.
Car pulled up right at the base of the driveway, and guy came around, got into the car, backed the car up, and just took off with it.
Tina Brown of Bayport woke up to find her car gone. A fob had been accidentally left inside. That was 2023. And for 2 years, more than 50 similar cases have plagued Suffolk County.
If you leave that night and think that you got away with it, well, guess what? You didn't.
This indictment ties 52 car thefts and break-ins to 13 alleged members of a ring calling itself CC Boys, CC standing for car checking. They did in high-end neighborhoods for unlocked doors, stealing wallets inside or the whole car.
They would use real estate apps such as Zillow and Realtor. So they would go in the middle of the night, steal the credit cards, and then immediately go to the store to charge and use those cars before the victims knew what was going on.
And then proudly posting their cash on social media. The pattern solved after images of the perps were shared with other departments who recognized the alleged ringleader from Freeport. Sean Mullen, found with 20 key fobs, 122 driver's licenses, 45 stolen credit cards, and 15 social security cards.
Lives are upended by this. Their credit scores are destroyed, their cars are taken, we're talking days missed at work.
The cars weren't sold, but instead used in buying gift cards and money orders.
In a sweeping crackdown on organized street crime, Suffolk County authorities have indicted 13 suspected gang members for their alleged roles in a coordinated vehicle theft and credit card fraud ring. that targeted neighborhoods across Long Island. The 250-count indictment, unveiled in early 2025, reveals a sophisticated operation linked to the gang known as 5 Leaders or the CC Boys, allegedly based in the Hempstead-Freeport area. According to prosecutors, the group is responsible for the theft of at least 15 vehicles and more than $40,000 in unauthorized charges on stolen credit cards. Their targets were not random. Using online platforms like Zillow and Realtor.com, the suspects reportedly scouted affluent neighborhoods in Suffolk County, identifying areas where residents were more likely to leave vehicles unlocked, often with key fobs inside. The gang employed a tactic known in street slang as car checking. This involved late-night missions where crew members would roam neighborhoods, opening unlocked vehicles and stealing valuables, especially wallets and credit cards. In some cases, the vehicles themselves were driven off and later resold or used in additional crimes. The stolen credit cards were quickly used at stores like Target, Walmart, and Apple, where suspects would purchase electronics and gift cards, then flip them for fast cash, often before victims even realized their cards were missing. The criminal enterprise extended beyond suburban homes. The suspects also targeted vehicles parked at assisted living facilities, golf courses, gyms, and hotels, where owners were less likely to check on their property for hours at a time. This meticulous, organized approach made the group particularly dangerous and difficult to stop. Authorities say the investigation began in December 2023, when a rising number of car break-ins and credit card thefts were reported across multiple jurisdictions. Law enforcement conducted extensive surveillance, analyzed financial records tied to stolen cards, and executed multiple search warrants. During raids on the suspects' homes, officers reportedly recovered more than 100 stolen driver's licenses, 45 credit and debit cards, 20 checkbooks, passports, social security cards, and even multiple firearms, underscoring the scale of the operation. The case has sent shockwaves through Long Island communities. Residents are being urged to take precautions. Lock vehicles, never leave key fobs or valuables inside, and report suspicious activity immediately. For many, this indictment represents both a victory and a warning. While law enforcement successfully dismantled a major criminal network, it also exposed vulnerabilities in both neighborhoods and the justice system.
From here in western Nassau County, across Long Island to the East End, investigators say this alleged group of gang members was wreaking terror. You're hearing and seeing on surveillance video one of a variety of shootings across Long Island by members of the Bloodhound Brims gang, according to investigators.
Watch this. Start letting that rip.
There's an act of violence, and then everyone goes on social media and talks about it.
One of those shootings was on this street in Hempstead last April. Elementary school teacher Kimberly Majette was hit by a bullet here when alleged Brims gang leader Omar Berry mistook the car she was in for someone else's and opened fire, police say. Berry was arrested last year for the murder, and investigators say they connected him to Josiah Loco Herbert. Both are leaders of a Brims subgroup called Afghan Bloodhounds, according to prosecutors, who also say the subgroup answered to the leader of the Brims, Latique Johnson.
Kimberly Collins Midget was a beloved mother and school teacher. Police say she was after her car was mistaken for rival gang members last summer in Hempstead. Those responsible are members of the Bloodhound Brims gang, a subset of the Bloods, according to officials, who say these surveillance videos helped crack Midget's case and nearly 24 others since 2021.
We have this leader in California working through proxies to tell young men in Nassau and Suffolk County to commit shootings and other acts of violence on behalf of the gang.
The leader, Latique Johnson, who went by the Pilot, was allegedly allegedly calling shots from his jail cell in California. Omar Barry and Josiah Herbert were at the top of the gang's hierarchy on Long Island. Law enforcement seized tens of thousands of dollars from Johnson's commissary account. They say he would collect dues from lower-ranking members.
He did that from a jail cell in California. He may or may not have thought he was insulated from prosecution on Long Island. He is not.
A total of 31 alleged gang members and associates were arrested. Prosecutors say they played a role of some sort in shootings, robberies, and narcotic sales from Hempstead to the Hamptons.
While 31 suspected members of the Bloodhound Brims were indicted on Long Island for a string of 13 shootings, including the tragic demise of schoolteacher Kimberly Collins Majette, much of the violence traces back to the foundational leadership and ideology of one man, Lateek "Law Brim" Johnson. Johnson, known throughout New York as the founder of the Bloodhound Brims, established the gang during his incarceration in the New York State prison system in the early 2000s. From behind bars, Law Brim created a hierarchical and militant organization that combined prison politics, street-level violence, and criminal enterprise under one umbrella. He wasn't just a symbolic figure. He operated as the godfather of the Brims, issuing orders, resolving disputes, and orchestrating violence through a tightly controlled communication system involving contraband phones, coded messages, and loyal intermediaries. Despite being sentenced in 2019 to 30 years in federal prison for racketeering, narcotics trafficking, and attempted deletion, Johnson's model of leadership and gang governance lives on in many of the younger sets across New York and beyond, including those recently indicted on Long Island. Law enforcement sources have stated that the Long Island faction of the Bloodhound Brims mirrored many of the organizational principles put in place by Law Brim. These included strict codes of conduct, military-style ranks, and targeted acts of violence designed to assert dominance over rival gangs or settle internal disputes. Several of the indicted members were said to be following orders from higher-ups connected to the gang's prison-based leadership, a structure directly descended from Johnson's original playbook. In addition to Law Brim, other leaders have helped sustain the BHB's presence both inside and outside prison walls. Josiah Herbert, one of the most active Bloodhound Brim leaders on Long Island, was indicted in 2023 in a separate case tied to multiple shootings in Brentwood and Central Islip. Prosecutors alleged he orchestrated targeted attacks and operated as a field commander within the Long Island division of the gang. The 103-count indictment handed down in the recent Long Island case demonstrates how Law Brim's teachings and structure continue to influence operations, even years after his conviction. The shootings were not random. They were coordinated, targeted, and in several cases, premeditated, according to Nassau County District Attorney Ann Donnelly. Authorities believe that younger members of the gang, many in their early 20s, were indoctrinated into the Bloodhound Brims with the same militarized discipline and rules that Johnson instilled over a decade ago. These members were likely put on or initiated through violent acts, and some may have risen quickly through the ranks by carrying out shootings or trafficking drugs. Even though Johnson is incarcerated, his name still carries weight, especially among younger Brims seeking credibility. In some cases, members have been heard referencing Johnson and his leadership during jailhouse calls or on social media, reaffirming his mythic status within the gang.
Long Island police arrested 3 accused members of the violent MS-13 gang for machete attacks in Nassau County.
It was just after midnight Saturday night when Westbury homeowner Barbara Calabro says she heard loud bangs outside on Dover Street.
I called the police after I heard 4 gunshots. It sounded like gunshots.
Nassau police say Calabro was right. They found several bullet casings on the street. Police showed the 9mm weapon they seized from 3 alleged MS-13 gang members now under arrest. Detectives charged the trio fired the weapon near a 19-year-old man standing in front of his home after first slashing him in the stomach with a machete. Police say the attack began after one gang member asked, "Why are you laughing?" And the victim responded, "I can laugh at anything I want." Nassau police are also charging the 2 Hernandez brothers with an earlier machete attack in January on nearby Kinkle Street in Westbury, where they left a 19-year-old with a severe 4-inch gash across his face. The 2 attacks in Westbury have shaken residents.
In April 2017, law enforcement officials in Nassau County made significant progress in their crackdown on gang violence with the arrest of 3 individuals in Westbury, Long Island. among them 2 alleged members of the MS-13 gang, a group known for its violent activity across the region. The arrests stemmed from 2 separate machete attacks earlier that year, which authorities quickly linked to gang retaliation and territorial aggression. The first incident occurred on January 15, 2017, on Kinkle Street. The 19-year-old male was approached by the Hernandez brothers. During the confrontation, Jose Hernandez allegedly attacked the victim with a machete, leaving a deep 4-inch gash across his face. The second violent encounter took place on April 16, around midnight, on Dover Street. Another 19-year-old male was approached by Fidel Hernandez, who questioned the victim's behavior. According to authorities, Fidel struck the victim in the stomach with a machete, while Jose pulled out a firearm and fired 4 shots. Fortunately, none of the bullets hit the victim, and the suspects fled the scene on foot. Following an intensive investigation, police apprehended all 3 suspects, Jose and Fidel Hernandez, as well as 18-year-old Miguel Urias Arguenta, on April 18, 2017. Fidel and Arguenta were arrested near Railroad and Magnolia Avenues, and Jose was caught later that day at Broadway and Sherman Street. All 3 men were charged with attempted deletion and weapons-related offenses. At the time of their arrest, authorities stated that all 3 were born in El Salvador and believed to be in the country illegally. The investigation revealed that the suspects were affiliated with MS-13, a transnational street gang with a notorious reputation for brutal violence, especially in parts of Long Island such as Brentwood, Central Islip, and Westbury. In the legal proceedings that followed, Jose Hernandez pleaded guilty in January 2019 to 2 counts of attempted deletion in the 2nd degree and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Fidel Hernandez also took a plea deal, admitting to criminal possession of a weapon in the 2nd degree, which resulted in a 4-year prison sentence. Miguel Arguenta's case proceeded separately, with similar charges levied against him.
Authorities say a dangerous and violent gang has been busted on Long Island. Prosecutors unsealing a 59-count indictment against 8 members and associates of the Crips in Hempstead. They are charged with racketeering and conspiracy to commit and multiple assaults and firearms offenses.
Innocent lives were lost and maimed, and the law-abiding residents of Nassau County lived in fear.
A group of gang members who authorities say terrorized Nassau County on Long Island for several years is now in police custody. The group is linked to more than a dozen shootings and 3 between 2016 and 2021. They're also linked to several robberies and kidnappings over that span. 6 of the 8 gang members were arrested this morning in New York. Another was arrested in North Carolina. A 7th suspect remains at large. Authorities say the gang used social media to target children to join the group. According to authorities, the gang is also accused of defrauding unemployment and the federal COVID-19 Paycheck Protection Program of more than $200,000 to finance their operation.
In federal court in Central Islip, a 59-count indictment was unsealed charging 8 members and associates of a violent subset of the Crip street gang known as the Insane Crip Gang, or ICG, with various offenses. The indictment charges 7 defendants with racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder. 6 defendants are charged with multiple attempted deletions, assaults, and related firearms offenses. 4 defendants are charged in connection with their respective roles in 3 deletions committed in Nassau County between 2016 and 2021. NCDA Donnelly stated, "This Crips faction has wreaked havoc in the Hempstead area for nearly a decade, deleting perceived rivals and innocent bystanders alike. In just 2 years, Akeem Chambers allegedly participated in 2 deletions and more than a dozen shootings. This gang celebrated its violence on social media, using that same social media as a recruiting tool, and financed its activities by systematically stealing from government benefit programs designed to aid the unemployed and those adversely impacted by COVID." Akeem Chambers is charged with participating in over a dozen shootings and 2 deletions between 2020 and 2022, including the August 1, 2020 murder of 28-year-old Thaisha Williams in Hempstead, New York. In that incident, Chambers, along with Rob Pardo and another associate of the ICG, learned of a party on Martin Luther King Drive in Hempstead that was going to be attended by members of the rival De Block Bloods. Chambers and the others decided to commit a drive by shooting of the party. Jonathan Gonzalez was enlisted to be the driver for the shooting. Chambers and the other associate, each armed with a 9mm firearm, planned to shoot the rivals, while Rob Pardo remained in the area to assist their flight from the scene of the crime. As Chambers and the others drove down Martin Luther King Drive shortly after midnight on August 1, 2020, they fired at least 8 times at party-goers, striking and deleting Thaisha Williams, an innocent bystander who was sitting in her car outside the party to pick up a friend. Another innocent female bystander was also struck by gunfire and suffered a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to her leg. Chambers was also charged with his role in the 2021 robbery and demise of James Diamond in Freeport, New York. In that incident, Chambers, together with others, planned to rob Diamond of a large sum of cash. Chambers and another individual, both armed with firearms, approached the victim and another man and attempted to rob them at gunpoint. During the course of the robbery, Chambers' co-conspirator shot and deleted Diamond. Notably, Jalen Rogers, who was charged with over a half-dozen violent crimes ranging from attempted deletion and assault to attempted kidnapping, committed at least 3 of those violent crimes while he was wearing a court-ordered GPS ankle monitor imposed as a condition of supervision. In each of those shootings, records for Rogers' ankle monitor place him at the scene of the crime at the time of the shootings. Jonathan Vasquez is charged with the November 19, 2016 demise of 19-year-old Josephus Vanable in Hempstead, New York. Vanable, an individual who was repeatedly targeted by the ICG in Hempstead, was shot and met his demise on a Hempstead street by Vasquez. In the wake of Vanable's demise, members and associates of the ICG took to social media to brag about the deletion. In addition, the gang boasted about the deletion in rap videos and graffiti around Hempstead. In addition to violence directed at rivals, Vasquez is also charged with attempted deletion for opening fire on 2 Nassau County police officers who were attempting to conduct a stop of his vehicle. Vasquez is also charged with the gunpoint robbery of a woman in Levittown, New York, and several other gang-related shootings. To finance their criminal conduct and enrich themselves, the defendants and other ICG members and associates engaged in a wide array of fraud schemes, including defrauding state unemployment systems, the federal COVID-19 Paycheck Protection Program (PPP), various forms of identity theft, and bank fraud. The frauds perpetrated by ICG members and associates netted the gang's members and associates hundreds of thousands of dollars since early 2020. For example, the ICG stole approximately $200,000 from the state of California by submitting fraudulent unemployment benefits applications. In addition to their fraud schemes, the defendants regularly purchased, maintained, and sold a wide array of firearms. The investigation linked a total of 26 guns to the defendants and their associates. 14 of the 26 guns were linked to multiple shootings committed by the defendants or other Insane Crip Gang members.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin says he had just left a Columbus Day parade in the Bronx and was on his way back home with his wife Diana when he got a frantic call from one of his twin daughters. No call any parent would ever wish to get.
The way this started, the two of them were at the kitchen table doing homework, and they hear gunshots.
According to investigators, a drive-by shooting had unfolded right outside Zeldin's home in Shirley just after 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
There were 2 individuals who were in one of our camera frames, and they didn't move. These were the 2 people who were shot.
The Long Island congressman, who has represented New York's 1st District since 2015, told reporters at a late-night press briefing that his security cameras caught the 2 victims laying down under his front porch near the bushes. It appears they were trying to hide from the shooters. The sounds of gunfire were also captured on neighbors' Ring cameras.
18 alleged gang members arrested and tied to 31 separate incidents on Long Island. Hello, I'm Dana Tyler.
Welcome back. I'm Christine Johnson. Police say that they are terrorizing Long Island neighborhoods with shootings and carjackings. And now 18 alleged gang members are behind bars.
One of their crimes made headlines in October, the shooting outside Congressman Lee Zeldin's house in Shirley. CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff reports tonight. Investigators say these suspects are part of a new neighborhood gang.
Get the
car. You're looking at an armed carjacking of an innocent rideshare driver in Wading River. The gunmen gleefully grinning as they steal the car, part of a ruthless gang, say officials, responsible for 31 violent acts from Suffolk to Nassau since last year, including a outside a Farmingville nightclub in full public view.
In addition to the 6 shootings, we have 5 carjackings, 1 armed robbery, 15 separate stolen vehicles. We also have a home burglary where 6 French bulldog puppies and their mothers were stolen.
Suffolk DA Ray Tierney announcing 18 arrests, credits a team approach from multiple agencies for crippling a relatively new gang based in the Mastic Shirley area called NFL, short for No Fake Love. Also arrested incarcerated gang leaders who were allegedly directing the violence from behind bars, elevating it to innocent citizens.
In December 2022, law enforcement agencies in Suffolk County, Long Island, made a major breakthrough in the fight against gang violence with the takedown of the No Fake Love gang, better known by their street moniker, the NFL Gang. This sweeping operation culminated in the unsealing of a 148-count indictment against 18 alleged members and associates of the gang, whose members referred to themselves as Everybody K. The charges ranged from deletion and attempted deletion to armed robbery, carjacking, weapons possession, and conspiracy. The gang had established a fearsome reputation for violence and was said to operate throughout the Mastic, Shirley, Bellport, and Riverhead areas, impacting communities already struggling with gun crime and drug-related activity. Authorities stated that the NFL gang was a loosely organized yet extremely dangerous group whose members had ties to both the Bloods and Crips, making them a hybrid threat on the streets of Long Island. Members often used stolen vehicles to carry out their crimes, including drive-by shootings and robberies, before selling the vehicles to fund other criminal enterprises. They were also known to use social media to flaunt their activities and recruit new members. Investigators said the gang displayed a blatant disregard for public safety, carrying out violent acts in broad daylight and near homes, businesses, and even schools. Among the most high-profile incidents tied to the NFL gang was the fatal shooting outside Mink's nightclub in Farmingville in December 2021. In that case, 19-year-old David Trent opened fire, deleting 23-year-old Jorge Mauricio Sevilla Barrera and injuring 2 others. The nightclub shooting shocked the local community and heightened the urgency of the investigation. Trent eventually pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and other charges related to the shooting. Another deeply disturbing incident occurred in October 2022 when bullets flew outside the home of U.S. Congressman Lee Zeldin in Shirley. Although Zeldin and his family were not harmed, the shooting, later linked to alleged NFL member Noah Green, drew national attention and intensified pressure on law enforcement to act swiftly. The gang's criminal activities were not limited to shootings. Members were also connected to a series of armed robberies and carjackings, including a particularly violent robbery of a Lyft driver in Wading River. In another bizarre twist, the gang allegedly stole a litter of French bulldog puppies, valued at thousands of dollars, as part of a robbery scheme. Prosecutors noted that the stolen dogs were being sold to fund weapons purchases and drug deals. As of now, many of the indicted NFL members await trial or sentencing, with prosecutors aiming to ensure that justice is served not only for the direct victims of these crimes, but also for the communities terrorized by the gang's years-long reign. In March 2018, Suffolk County authorities dismantled a significant sex trafficking operation, leading to the indictment of 5 alleged members of the Bloods gang. These individuals were charged with operating a prostitution ring that exploited vulnerable women across various locations in Suffolk County, including Medford, Ronkonkoma, Holtsville, Shirley, and Coram. The investigation revealed that the accused targeted women struggling with drug addiction, coercing them into prostitution by supplying narcotics and creating a cycle of dependency. Suffolk County District Attorney Timothy Sini highlighted the manipulative tactics employed, stating, "They would run debt by virtue of accepting those drugs from the sex traffickers, and they would pimp them out throughout Suffolk County." The defendants faced a comprehensive 44-count indictment encompassing charges related to sex trafficking and drug distribution. The operation's exposure underscored the pervasive issue of human trafficking within the region and the exploitation of individuals battling substance abuse. Long Island, once viewed as a quiet extension of New York City's suburbs, has become a new frontline in the fight against organized street crime. The wave of recent indictments, from the Bloodhound Brims' deadly shootings to the Insane Crip Gang's racketeering empire, NFL's violent robberies, and MS-13's machete attacks, demonstrates that gang violence is no longer confined to inner-city streets. These cases also expose the adaptability of criminal organizations, many of which exploit social media, online platforms, and legal loopholes to fund and coordinate their operations. They target not only rivals, but also civilians, small businesses, and public systems meant to aid the vulnerable. Yet the coordinated response from law enforcement, local police, district attorneys, federal prosecutors, the FBI, and ATF shows a unified commitment to turning the tide. Each indictment is not only a legal milestone, but a clear message. No community, no matter how suburban or peaceful it may seem, is off limits when it comes to accountability. Long Island is fighting back, and through vigilance, community cooperation, and aggressive prosecution, it aims to reclaim its streets from the grip of gang violence.